Welcome, everybody, to this Digital Roadmap Themes. This is part of our ongoing series on Alma 2022 Roadmap Themes. We've already begun this theme. And before we actually get into the digital roadmap themes, let me remind everybody we have a page here. I'm going to send everybody the link right now in the chat, just in case there's anybody who doesn't already have it. This is our page of the Alma 2022 roadmap. There's a link here on top to the webinar series, which is just down below here anyway, but you can link right to there inside the page. We've already had the first session, which was January 18th, which was the library independence theme. Got a link to the recording right here. The recordings are also on YouTube. And today we're discussing the controlled digital lending theme in the Alma 2022 roadmap. The material that we'll be using today is the supporting material is here. We're not going to be looking at these PowerPoints, but if anybody wants to look at them on their own, feel free. There's some videos, some PowerPoints, a white paper, etc. And now we're officially ready to begin, and I'm joined today by Mr. Daniel Greenberg. Also from the Jerusalem headquarters, Daniel Greenberg is a director of product management, specializing in, among many other areas, Alma Digital. And for our itinerary today, we're going to be going through a couple of options on the patron waitlist. The patron waitlist is a major part of the controlled digital lending. We're going to be looking at two aspects of the patron waitlist. One, the patron waitlist itself, how it works, what it does, and then the ability to use multiple rules with the patron waitlist. We'll see how that works and why it's useful. Then we'll talking about a brand new option to prevent the download of digital files. That's going to be the first half of the session. Then we're going to turn it over to Daniel for the roadmap and themes for 2022. So without further ado, let's just jump right in and see what we're talking about. So we're going to start now with the patron waitlist in controlled digital lending. And we're going to assume in this session that people have not yet seen controlled digital lending. Those of you who are already experts in the controlled digital lending, this may not all be new for you, but we're going with the base that it's new for everybody. And I'm going to be periodically checking the chat if anybody wants to comment about anything. So first of all, the controlled digital lending works with access right policies, which are applied to a digital resource. And we access the access rights policies at configuration. I'm clicking configuration on the bottom left. And then from configuration, I'm going to go to fulfillment. And under copyright management here on the bottom right, we've got access rights. Now, to save time and allow us to be able to view as many examples as possible, I've already made some access rights, so we're not going to make them during this session, but we will explain them in depth. To add an access right, we click Add Access Right, and I've created this one here, which is called One Concurrent User Access Right. And let's take a look at it and let's see what it does. And then we're going to use it. So we have a name. It's called the YLK1 Concurrent User Access Rights Policy. We'll see why it's called one concurrent user and what that means. It has what's called a denied note. We're going to see the denied note in action in a moment, but take note that the denied note is called one user is already viewing this digital object. Please request to be added to the waitlist. That means somebody is trying to view a digital resource, but it's already got to the maximum number of concurrent users who can view it, so the person needs to wait. And then we have what's called a denied note for the unregistered users. That's when someone is not logged into Alma, and that says, please sign in to be able to view the digital object. Then we have a rule. Every access right has a rule. Every rule has one or more expressions. So this rule is called one user at a time. Let's take a look at it. And it has two expressions. This expression says, let's edit it. This says one concurrent user at a time can view the digital resource for 15 minutes. Then we've got another one which says the user must be registered. Registered in this case means logged into Alma. Excuse me, logged into the Discovery interface. If we wanted to add another parameter, we could add another parameter here. And for example, I can say the user has to be from user group equals, and then I could choose the user group and make even another condition. But we've already got two expressions, and that will suffice for our example. And most importantly for our situation here is we have the option Manage Access Waitlist is checked. That means when a user tries to access the digital resource and the maximum number of concurrent users are already viewing the digital resource, he or she will be added to the waitlist. And we're going to see exactly what that means. And of course, we're allowing view. We're not allowing download, but we're allowing view. Person will be able to view the resource. So that's the access right. Now, this access right needs to be applied to a digital resource in order to take effect. And I could apply it to several digital resources all at the same time via a batch job, but we've already got an example here of a digital resource which is using that access right. So I'm going to go show that. I'll go to digital titles and I'll search by word title. And on the shoulders of giants. On the shoulders of giants. So we have here the scan of an article called On the Shoulders of Giants. And if we look at the representation here, I'm going to edit this representation. Note two things. Number one, the access right here is that access right which we just saw 2 moments ago. The YLK1 concurrent users access rights policy. And note also that we have 4 tabs on top: general information, files, notes, and history. In fact, I'm going to take a picture of that so I can show later exactly what's going to happen. So I'm going to put that picture right here. And we have here 4 tabs right now. Now, let's go see in action how this works. And let me get out of here, cancel. Okay, and I'll cancel here. And I'll just take that with me because I'm going to use that to search. Okay, now I'm in Primo. So first of all, if I search for Primo now, for this resource, I'm not yet logged in. And I've got it here, and it says available online. And it tells me, please sign in to be able to view the digital object. That was our denied note for an unregistered user. So we saw, we defined this in the access right. Now I'm going to sign in and then try to view it again. So we'll sign in. I'll sign in as our favorite patron who we often use, those who have been in our sessions before, Alicia Hen. And now we sign in, and now we click available online. We no longer get the denied note, and we can go right into the Alma viewer. We can configure which viewer we want to use for this. That's another topic. And we'll start viewing this. There it is. And we're viewing the resource. I can see here with the hourglass how long I'm viewing it. I've I've been viewing, remaining time is 14 minutes, 46 seconds. If you recall, we said you can view it for 15 minutes. Now we're going to see how the patron waitlist works. And for that, I'm going to log out of Alicia and we'll go in as a different patron, just so we can see what's happening here, how this whole process works. So now I will close this one and I will log out of Alicia, sign out. And now I'm going to sign in as another user. So we'll sign in and I'll go in, for example, as Anna. Anna Namati logs in. And she also wants to view this resource. So she searches also, finds it, clicks the available online, and sees one user is already viewing this digital object. This was also the note that we had inside the access right. And Anna clicks that link and gets a message that she can join the waitlist. So she joins the waitlist and it says you are number 1 in the waitlist. So she patiently waits. And meanwhile, another user is looking for this resource. We're just going to do one more user here for our purposes. That should be enough. And we will be, and maybe we'll actually do 2 more, and then we can show even another feature. Oh, we want to go also. First, we'll sign in. This time will be Bjorn. Bjorn logs in. Bjorn searches also for On the Shoulders of Giants. Clicks the available online. And she sees one user is already viewing this. If you recall, Alicia is still viewing it. Bjorn clicks the link. She sees that there's one user already on the wait list. And Bjorn joins the wait list as well. Let's do one more user, then I can show a lot of nice features. Okay, so Bjorn is waiting. Meanwhile, one more user wants to view it. Of course, in the real world, users would be at their own PCs and they'd be searching. I'm just doing it in one browser here due to our technical restraints here. I can't show on WebEx a bunch of different PCs. Now I'm going to be John Abraham. John Abraham logs in. And John Abraham is also looking for this very popular article. He goes to Available Online. He too sees that someone's already viewing it. That person happens to be Alicia. And he gets the option to be added to the wait list. He sees there's already 2 people. He joins. Okay, now let's go back to that digital representation in Alma. Representations. Now we're getting into the heart, the real meat of the patron wait list. And let's edit this. Now we have a new tab, waiting list. I'm going to go back to my picture. Here we have 4 tabs. Here in real life, now we have 5 tabs. And in the 5 tabs, we have the waiting list. Here's the 3 patrons, Anna, Bjorg, and John Abraham, who joined the wait list. In addition to that, if we go to their mail, I happen to have their emails. We see here all 3 of them got a message, registration confirmed. You have been added to the wait list on the Shoulders of Giants. You can see this one was sent 2 minutes ago to Anna. 1 minute ago it was sent to Bjorg. And 0 minutes ago it was sent to John Abraham. Now watch what's going to happen. First of all, I'm going to get rid of these. Just so we get everything fresh now. Now, in that wait list, we can, let me close that so I don't get any incriminating emails popping up. Okay. Let's close this as well. Okay. That's closed. Let's quit that. Okay, now we can take these users, and for example, I can take John and move him to the top. We're going to see another option soon where I can even prioritize users based on their user group. So now I move John to the top, and I can also remove a user if I want. Let's take Bjorg and remove her. So now John is on the top. Bjorg is gone. Alicia is done with the resource. So Alicia is in Primo. Let's log out of John Abraham. We'll log in as Alicia, sign in. Sign in here. Okay. Alicia is signed in again. Goes to view this. It's just going to continue her session. If we look now at the hourglass here, we can see she's got 8 minutes left. That means since we started the whole thing, we've used 7.5 minutes. And she's going to return it early. She's all done. After 15 minutes, it would automatically get returned. But she's going to click here on the top right, return early. Are you sure you want to end your session early? Yes. Okay, great. So she's all done. She's done with that. She signs out. And now, in a moment or two, Bjorg is going to get, excuse me, John Abraham, who we put on top of the list. There it is. Look at that already. So first of all, Bjorg got the registration canceled. Perfect scenario here. Bjorg got the cancellation when I deleted her from the patron waitlist, and the item is now available for John Abraham. By the way, this can also be sent by SMS. We added an option for SMS. There's two what's called channels for this letter. One is email and one is SMS. And now John can go view the resource as well. So that's the first scenario of the patron waitlist in controlled digital lending. And we saw the managing of the patron waitlist, and we saw how the users are notified that they've been added to the waitlist, that they've been removed from the waitlist, and that the item is available. Those of you who are physical fulfillment experts will take note. A lot of similarities here between those of you who deal with the loan rules inside the fulfillment units will see a lot of similarities looking at the order of the rules inside the access rights. A lot of parallel options here. I'm just going to go see the chat. I see somebody sent in a question. Can the awaiting user on the wait list be informed of the estimated time of arrival? E.g., you are in the wait list. Please wait 10 minutes. Daniel, do you want to comment there? I'm not aware of a way to say the amount of time. I'm only aware of a way to say what number you are in the wait list. Daniel, is there anything? Go ahead.
No, that's a good question. We did have a lot of thoughts about it, but we did decide that because there are so many parameters that impact the waiting time, we decided that it's not accurate enough to actually display it, especially when we're talking about multiple users who are waiting, and there's the grace periods which need to be taken into account. There's return earlys, and especially there's also inactivity hours where the library can decide that during the night, then the queue is sort of frozen, which will also impact that estimate. But we might add it in the future in case, for example, this is just one user who can access it at any given time, which will make the estimate more accurate.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. And I will just point out something that Daniel mentioned in passing there. Daniel mentioned that there's a lot of parameters. So I didn't show every parameter here. A lot of parameters that can influence the waiting time. Due to the nature of this session, I didn't show all of the possibilities, but I will point out, for example, in that one that we just looked at, in addition to the amount of time each person has, There's also, let's go take a look at this. There's a grace period. That's how long does the user have between being notified that the item is available and actually getting the item. So if the user waits more than 15 minutes, it goes to the next guy in line. Kind of like the hold shelf list, where you have, if the guy doesn't come in 2 days, it goes to the next guy, or 1 day. Then there's also that this whole wait list can be limited to certain hours. Like maybe at nighttime you don't want to be using it when the library's closed or people are sleeping. So there's other factors to take into account there. In any case, it doesn't give a minute amount, but I think by putting the place in line, how many people are waiting in the wait list, I think that more or less covers it. If someone sees they're going to be 50th in the wait list and they need to read it by the end of the day, maybe they won't join the wait list, or they'll go to the library and find volume 7, issue 3 on the shelf. Anyway, let's go on. So now we've got another similar scenario. However, we had in our previous scenario, one patron, Alicia Hen, went in and viewed the resource. Then the other 3 went in, one after the other. We might have another situation, and that's what we're going to show now, where one of the patrons or a certain user group of patrons, we want to automatically go to the top of the list. So let's take a look. I have a sample patron here, Catherine Teresa. Catherine Teresa is, let me go to users, is of a user group called Print Disabled. That was the actual use case. And you can see the user group is Print Disabled. And we want to say everyone will go into the wait list just like we saw. However, if somebody is of user group Print Disabled, they can immediately view it. So they get priority. Again, we have priorities in the physical fulfillment, those of you who are physical fulfillment mavens. All right, so let's go take a look at this one. So again, I'm going to go to configuration and again to fulfillment and again to copyright management access rights. And now we're going to look at the YLK2 called concurrent user access rights. One concurrent user at a time can view the digital object. User group Print Disabled can always view the object. And let's see how this is done. This is a very new feature. So we have 2 rules. Now the rules are read top to bottom, just like everywhere else in Alma. And as soon as it catches a positive match on a condition, it stops. So the first rule says, if the user group equals Print Disabled, then allow view. Perfect. Next rule says 1 user at a time. It's just like the other one we saw. The one we previously saw a moment ago, it manages to access waitlist. That option appears here because we're using concurrent users. Exactly like the one we saw. So this whole access right is identical to the one we saw in the previous scenario. The only difference is we have another rule that if user group is Print Disabled, then allow view. Now let's see what's going to happen now. So first of all, I happen to have, just by chance, I happen to have an electronic resource that is using this access right. And let's go take a look at that one. It's called Outrageous and Everyday. So let's go do a search for Outrageous and Everyday just to see that it's part of that digital resource. I think everyday, yep, everyday is one word, okay. And I'll just copy that. Okay, so here's Outrageous and Everyday. And let's go look at the representation. And in the representation, we see that it's using that access right. So let's go back to Primo like we did before. And I'll sign in. And again, I will start off with Alicia. And we will search for that. and we will view it online. And there we are. We'll go to the Alma viewer, and everything's great. Alicia starts viewing Outrageous and Everyday, The Papers of Gloria Steinem by Amanda Izzo. Alicia is done here. Not return early. She's still reading it, but she's no longer going to be our example in Primo. So now we have another user logs in. Anna logs in. Anna logs in. She too wants to read Outrageous and Everyday, goes to the available online, sees, like in our previous example, that a user is already viewing this, that she can be added to the waitlist. She joins the waitlist. She's all done. Another user comes in. This time, John Abraham comes in. He too wants to go view Outrageous and Everyday. Clicks available online, sees there's already a user there. One user is already viewing it, and he joins the waitlist. So that means now if we were to look at this representation again, now we have them in the waiting list. Along comes Catherine. Catherine is, if you recall, user group print disabled. So Catherine is going to log in and try to view this. All of the other users until now, when they went to go view something that was already being viewed, they were added to the wait list. But here comes Catherine. Catherine signs in. Catherine T. Catherine now tries to view it. She clicks available online. She does not get the message that everyone else got that it's already being viewed. She clicks the link and she can immediately view it. Everybody else in the wait list is going to need to wait until Catherine is done. Catherine has top priority. Catherine can always just go in immediately and view it. That should be clear to everybody, but let me go check the chat if there's any questions or comments there. Someone wrote, hi, Yoel, comma. I guess maybe there's more to come. So I don't see any questions. Okay, so that's the patron wait list with 2 rules allowing for the priority of a patron. I think this is one of the, everything we did here is nice, but this especially, the fact that you can take a user group and just automatically push them up. Nice feature. Okay, let's do one more, then we're going to turn this over to Daniel. We're going to look now at the ability to prevent the download of files. By the way, we had a tough time choosing what are we going to include here. There's also an option to add the watermarks to the digital files, but we will save that for another time. But there's a nice movie on it. Just look for the word watermark on our YouTube channel. Watermark Digital. Okay, now let's look at another one. Let's say I am not logged in here. We're talking now about preventing users from downloading digital files. So let's first of all get out of here. And we will close this one and we will sign out here. Okay, let's say, first of all, we can define the inability to download a file. It can be for all users. For example, we can say anyone coming from any IP range. We can say it's for certain user groups. We can say it's for someone who's not logged in. Just about anything. So if I were to search now for Sternbergia Clusiana. there's any horticultural experts out there, you'll know what the Sternbergia clusiana is. Here it is. So let's go see the Sternbergia clusiana. Now, right now, I have 3 different options for downloading the Sternbergia clusiana. Let me go to the available online and here. Okay. 3 different options to. Oh, it looks like I might have already defined that this cannot be downloaded. So you know what we're going to do? Look, I cannot download this if you notice. If I right click, nothing is happening. You'll have to trust me that I'm right clicking. Here's my mouse. I'm right clicking. Nothing's happening. I don't have any download button here. And if I right click the banner up here and I say save page as, and I save this, I'm going to call it the Sternbergia clusiana morning session, because in the afternoon, we're going to do an afternoon session. So if I save that and I go to that file, Sternbergia clusiana morning session files, I don't have here a JPEG with that file or a PNG or anything. I only have one PNG, and it's my library logo. It's the top of the library logo. So I cannot download that file. I'm just going to do another one here in another browser. Same thing though. I'm going to go to Primo. Here. Same thing. I'm again not going to be not logged in. Sternbergia. Sternbergia. That should be enough. I don't think we've got too much with Sternbergia in here. Here we go. Available online. Alma viewer. No option to download. What's going on here? Let's go take a look at the access rights. So again, configuration, fulfillment, copyright management, access rights. Here we've got logged in user can download, not logged in user cannot download, okay? Someone who's not logged in cannot download. I'm going to sign in here. Let's sign in as Alicia. Now you'll see I have a download button here. In fact, let's click it. There you can see something downloaded. I can right click it and say save image as. Let's save it. So now I've downloaded the file, downloads. Here we go. This is the one I used the button for, downloaded the image. Here's the one I did the right click on, downloaded the image. And if I come to the top and I say save page as, and I'll say morning session again, logged in. Now let's go look at that. Morning session logged in. Let me do there we are, morning session logged. Here it is. And now we have this. We still have the library logo, but we also have the file. So we saw that if I'm not logged in, I can't right click it, save as. I don't have the download button. And if I try to save the whole page, this image is not included. How did that happen? Let's take a look. We have this access right, which states, again, it's being read top to bottom. This one has 2 rules. First rule says, if registered equals true, allow download. So the user who's logged in, which was Alicia in our second example, she was able to download. However, if the user is not registered, then it keeps reading, gets to the second rule. Second rule says if the registration is false, in other words, the user is not registered, do not allow download. This policy is called the YLK3, logged in user can download, not logged in user cannot download. It's kind of a complicated or a long explanation, but it says exactly what it is. A logged in user can download, not logged in user cannot download. And then we took this and we put it inside the representation of this file. So let's just go to the digital titles and see that. Digital titles, the Clusia, the Sternbergia, and we'll look at that representation, edit, and here it is. Okay, before I turn this over to Daniel, let me just see if there's a question. Someone asked, how about Alicia, can she still see the document? Okay, going back to when Catherine logged in and was able, the second scenario, Catherine logged in, was able to immediately view the resource. The previous user could still view it because Catherine is not taking up a place in the wait list. She's just viewing it. She's not part of the whole group of concurrent users. She's bypassing it, immediately viewing it, because it's using her rule that just said if the user group equals print disabled, go ahead and view it. So it's bypassing the whole idea of the limit of concurrent users. So the other user is still viewing it, and Catherine is not taking up a spot in the wait list. Okay, Daniel, I'm going to turn this over to you. I will stop sharing here. I will make you the presenter. And I think you're, go ahead, Daniel, take it away. You're the presenter.
Thanks,
And if you want to add to anything I stated, feel free.
Sure. So no, that was great. So as you all said, she doesn't actually, the print disabled are exempt from any CDL restrictions. So basically the waitlist will continue being managed separately. So other users can continue registering for the waitlist and viewing the resource. So it doesn't actually block anyone. Any group which is exempt from that rule will just have a parallel route of fulfillment. Okay, so I'll share my screen. So I'm just going to take for the next 15 minutes, I'll take a step back or a bit of a bird's eye view to talk a bit about Ex Libris strategy regarding CDL, the work we're doing with our customers, and a bit of our roadmap plans regarding CDL and slightly beyond CDL, but related in the end to controlled fulfillment. So there's a lot of online material about our strategy, about the work that we're doing around CDL. You can take a look, just look up Ex Libris controlled digital lending and Google, and you'll find a lot of stuff. Really in general, why are we working with the customers on CDL? Why do we find it an important topic? And just to emphasize, we're not taking a stand here about how CDL needs to be implemented, or even if it should be implemented. We're just fully aware of the fact that we have a lot of institutions, a lot of customers who have this need, and they need the workflow supporting CDL limitations, and therefore we are providing that support, and we're providing an infrastructure, a set of workflows and configurations, which basically allow the institutions to then apply their own interpretation to CDL. We've come across several networks where different institutions inside the network have their own completely different interpretations. So each one of them can implement it differently. We're simply providing the set of tools. So why is it important? So first of all, really to make the libraries, to allow them to fulfill their vital function in society, especially when we're talking about the last 2 or 3 challenging years where there has been very limited access to the print books. Then this, of course, opens up the options. And it's not only about providing remote access to materials, to the library materials, it's also about providing what's called transformative use. So many times the digital version isn't just a digital version of the print book, it does actually provide additional digital aids, for example, audio-visual aids, the fact that you can full text, you can actually search for full text, you can zoom in and out, and many more features which you have on digital, which you cannot have on the print original. And then again, this is really going into the sort of the copyright considerations. There is the 20th century problem, old books which are under copyright, but unlikely ever to be offered digitally as electronic resources and so on. And several more considerations such as print conservation, which is specifically relevant for interlibrary loans, which I'll mention, where of course you have all the traffic and all the, sometimes if you're talking about between countries, then it's flying over and so on, and shipping. Then this also relates to ecological awareness and conserving the original print version, which is many times the only copy that a library or even country has. So these are the main focus areas of Ex Libris relating to CDL, the first one. And these focus areas were defined together with the customers because they're not only about closed sort of encapsulated workflows, it's also about copyright areas. Each one of these areas is in a way a bit more challenging also from the copyright point of view. So we're really working in an agile approach together with our customers. The first area being course resources. The functionality is focusing around Alma Digital, but Alma Digital really integrating with other discovery systems such as Leganto, Primo, and so on. And this is what Yoel's been talking about. So this really, the use cases here focused on short-term access, having a patron waitlist management. So a lot of the focus here is first of all around the copyright management, but also around the user experience for the patrons. The second and really the big next step, which we're now working on design and discussions with the customers, is general circulation. So really having the fulfillment of digital copies of the CDL copies fully integrated into the familiar print or physical flows that you have. And I'll mention a bit more about that soon. Eventually, also the general circulation will in a way be able to provide also the right tools also for course resources. So you'd have basically two flows, a more simplified one, which is course resources, and a one which is more advanced and allows more options, but does require some more familiarity with terms of use and so on. That will be part of the second general circulation flow. And the third one, which is more in the area of Rapido, that's for interlibrary loans, which is of course also another big concern, both from the workflow point of view and from the copyright point of view. So the focus areas that we've seen a lot of it today for course resources, really it's mainly rotating around copyright management, fulfillment and administration. So for copyright management, we're providing the ability to control the own to loan ratio. Basically the number of users who can access the resources equal to the number of the items on the shelf. You could optionally decide that one of the items on the shelf is open for example, user groups such as print disabled and so on, and only the other 2 or 3 copies are basically digitized and provided access only as CDL. We've added a lot of measures for preventing redistribution, because of course, if the end user can download the copy, then it completely misses the point of CDL. We've also seen how you can exempt specific user groups from CDL limitations. And this is also, by the way, a request that came in from the customers following our initial development of waitlist. There are groups who are not limited, so why do they need to wait for the resource and be restricted to the number of concurrent users? And then we have other functionality which we've added, which doesn't directly relate to CDL, but it does relate to copyright management. So one is we have advanced copyright statement management, where you can basically add, we provide out of the box all of the Creative Commons and rights statement and so on, but also you can add any custom copyright statement. We've also added support for watermarks, where you can overlay watermarks which reflect the copyright source of the of that image. So we've added support for that. And then the next big focus area is fulfillment. So you saw here how you can limit the session period, define the wait list, and where you can also, it's all wrapped with a set of notifications, either email or SMS. And all the viewers which are provided as part of the general Alma digital offering is also possible here, as you can define which viewer will be used, will be displayed to the end user when they come to open that resource. So it could either be the Alma view, which we saw here, which is fully customizable in Primo Studio, but you can also have, you can also offer it via the Universal Viewer and the Internet Archive Book Reader. In the Internet Archive Book Reader, you can search for full text, which will be highlighted in the images. Universal Viewer is currently being upgraded to the latest version 3, which means that you'll be able to also render non-image sequences, such as audio-visual content, PDF. All of that will also be able, you'll also be able to deliver via the Universal Viewer. So a lot of exciting stuff coming through around Discovery 2, and also, of course, you can use it for course resources via Leganto. And then, in addition, just other sort of accessibility, user experience features which are being added. So very soon we're going to add support for closed captions and subtitles for video content, which will be coming over soon. And last and certainly not least, administration for in the back end. So we saw that you're going to have full control over the waitlist. You can see, first of all, transparency, who is part of that waitlist, and then also actions to perform on it. In an upcoming release very soon, we're going to have really a great analytics. So you're going to be able to produce statistics on, for example, average waiting time per resource, and how many early returns there were, and how many users missed their grace period for accessing the resource. And that will allow you to sort of adjust the terms as you go, understand if there are not enough copies, or if the session period is too long or too short, or the grace period is too long or too short, and so on. Sorry. So the roadmap plans for the next sort of focus area of CDL, which is the long-term loans. So really, in brief, we're going to focus on long-term loans with CDL copy, which would eventually be able to be applicable also for short-term loans, such as course resources. It's going to integrate with a physical circulation, the fulfillment or fulfillment flows, including terms of use. We'll see in a second what that looks like. And a lot of synchronization. So basically, we're going to be leveraging the fact that Alma is a unified resource management system. So we have a system which is fully aware of how many items you have on shelf, and is managing your digital copies. So it will allow us to provide a lot of automation around syncing between the two different types of resources that you have, the physical and the digital. So it's an ideal starting point for CDL management. So the high-level flow will be that the starting point will be that for a single title, a single bibliographic record, you have the original item associated with some sort of terms of use, and that's the items, of course, associated with a fulfillment unit, and a digital representation, a digital CDL record under that same bib. So the next flow would be to CDLize that copy, and basically, first of all, providing some sort of copyright clearance, and then generating a terms of use for that digital representation. And it's going to be more simplified in a way, because we don't have location and other parameters which are less relevant for digital resources, but it's really going to be based on the library, and we're going to be adding the representation policy, which is parallel to the item policy that you have today. And then activation of that CDL copy with options of automatic deactivation of the physical copy, for example, with various options of what you can do with the original item. And that puts you into sort of a safety zone from a copyright or legal point of view. And then fulfillment. So the fulfillment will be defined according to, similar to what you have with items today, and terms of use and so on is going to be defined according to the fulfillment unit which the digital representation belongs to, and the whole request mechanism is going to be parallel to what you have today for physical requests. So really what the one of the big advantages which you'll have here around fulfillment or circulation of the physical copy, much more than you have today for digital, is you'll be able to make a lot of decisions about which capabilities and how the fulfillment session would look like for a specific user group. So for example, would it be loanable at all for a specific user group? Is it renewable? Is it recallable? What is the priority of that user group? So today, as you saw, we have a manual prioritization. You could take a user and drag them to the top of the list. And here in the future development, you'll be able to actually define automatically priorities for different user groups as you have today for physical items. You'll be able to define the loan period, grace period, and so on. So that was the second focus area. The third focus area, which I'll just mention briefly, because again, this isn't really an Alma, it's just for general awareness. Judith Frankel, she's the go-to person for any more information about Rapido, but it's basically providing the similar principles and workflows around CDL, or more like control over the CDL copyright terms, also for interlibrary loans, which eventually will also be integrated with Alma and Alma D, and it's going to be also conforming with any ISO CDL protocols. We're working very closely with the CDL advisory group. We have working groups who have been working with defining the copyright limitations and needs and so on, but also the workflows. And together we've been designing the next steps and also adding functionality around the course resources. These are the main working groups: copyright circulation and resource sharing. And these are some of the institutions who have been participating. And maybe I'll finish my sort of part of the session by just a call out to you. So any of you who are interested in implementing CDL for long-term loans, again, not just as advice, but really as a sort of an early adopter, we'll be very happy if you reach out to us. We can start talking and defining what the process would look like. And of course, you'll have a very strong impact on what the actual flow would look like. We are already deep into the design, but there's still a lot of area for modifications and adapting it to your needs. So that's it from my side. Joel, I believe we have another 6 or 7 minutes for questions. You're muted, Joel.
We did get one other question, and person who asked this question, feel free to clarify if you'd like. The person asked, can we add other copyright info? No printing, no sharing, only for academic purposes. I assume the person is asking about where I showed that you can't download, and they want that you can't share. There's a share button on the top right, and that you can't print. If that's not what you wanted, you person who asked it can. Okay, she says yes, or he or she says yes. That's what they wanted. Daniel, you want to comment on that? Anything about preventing printing or sharing?
So I understand the question here is adding just the copyright info. So basically, you have full control over what the copyright statements which are presented to the user and the denied note. So you can define exactly what's displayed there, and there you can basically write whether it's open for print and so on. And also, as Yoel showed, you can have one note for guest users and a different note for logged in users. So if you have different terms, for example, it's open for download just for the logged in users, you can actually have a different note which is displayed to each one of those types of users.
Okay, somebody else asks, follow-up question. How about if the library has only one concurrent user license of the title? That sounds like if somebody has only one concurrent user license of the title, then they can set up the access right like we did here with one concurrent user. Unless there's something different being asked there. It's possible to set up that only one user at a time can view a resource. That was our first example. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here. I don't see any questions coming in. Oh, someone says, but when one is reading, Catherine can still read it. Yeah, we set it up that we had another user group can go in and read it. But in the first case, we had it set up that only one concurrent user at a time could read it. Daniel, if you want to Join in, go ahead. Our first case
No.
scenario was only one user at a time could access it.
No, I mean, it says, as I mentioned, we provide the set of tools, and you can actually implement it the way you like. You can define that only one user accesses it at any given time. You can define that two access it, and you can define that some groups don't have any limitations at all. So it's completely up to you how you implement that set of tools.
Okay, somebody asks, let me put this out into let me share, Daniel, if you don't mind. Cancel. I'm going to change. Okay, just so I can take this longer question, put it in a document and share so everyone can see, because I don't even think I can read it all in one shot. Word, okay. So somebody asks, in the CDL that Yoel demoed, let's make this a little larger. To be part of Alma, is the CDL workflow that Yoel demoed to be part of Alma? It is part of Alma. I'm showing Alma current February release. Or are there aspects? Okay, go ahead, Daniel. You can take this one. Or are there aspects which would require an additional purchase of Alma? Oh, sorry about that. Additional
Yeah.
purchase of Alma Digital.
Yeah, so the workflows that we saw does require an additional purchase of Alma Digital. Of course, it's as you saw, it's a full service and functionality. It's a full digital asset management system. However, you should be aware that currently there's a very attractive offering for Alma Digital, specifically if you're going to be using it only for CDL purposes. So feel free to reach out to me or to your account manager to understand what the terms would be.
Okay, let's go look at the chat, see if there's any more.
Just to mention, if you already have Alma, of course, then this won't lead to any additional costs.
Okay, I don't see any other questions. Okay, so this recording will be posted either later tonight being a different time zone than most of you, or tomorrow. And thanks for joining us. And again, we sent at the beginning of the session the link. I'm going to send it another time to the whole Roadmap Themes webinar series. And we hope to see you in the future sessions. Have a nice day, everybody, and bye-bye.